Welcome to the book reading program of 3ABN Australia Radio. Does your faith need a boost? Do you think that miracles only happened in Bible times? Think again. Compiled by Remnant Publications, the book Get Ready for a Miracle recounts true stories that prove that when we step out in faith, God displays His power in undeniable ways. Here is our reader, Sandra Ashton.
This story is entitled Miracles in Curaçao. Psalms chapter 22 verse 28 says, "For the kingdom is the Lord's, and He rules over the nations." Curaçao? Where's that? That is the common response when I mention that Maranatha Volunteers International has completed a successful project in Curaçao. Most people have never heard of it, don't know how to spell it, and wonder if it is near an ocean. Next stop, Google and Wikipedia. Curaçao? Everyone has wanted it. The Spanish discovered it in 1499 and enslaved its Arawak inhabitants. The Dutch came in 1634, followed by the French, the British, the Venezuelans, and finally the Kingdom of the Netherlands. In 1690, everyone knew Curaçao was a perfect place for hiding pirate ships and trafficking slaves. For the next 200 years, the island was conquered and reconquered by British, French, and Dutch navies. The Dutch finally won the wars and in 1815 took full possession of the 171 square mile island with the perfect harbour only 40 nautical miles north of Venezuela. Today, Curaçao's perfect harbour hosts several giant white cruise ships each week, and the capital of Willemstad has become a major storage, refining and shipping point for black gold. Both petroleum and tourism require strong support networks manned by experts. Most of these experts choose to live near their work and require excellent schools for their children. That's where the recounts Seventh-day Adventist School in Curaçao, Netherlands Antilles, comes into this story. Many of Curaçao's experts consider the Adventist school excellent and are willing to get up early and drive their children halfway across the island to be sure their children receive the finest education in Curaçao. Recounts has a waiting list for any empty desks. However, not everything in Curaçao is white sand beaches and a thriving port. The weather can be nasty. In 2008, a tornado blew across the island, shattering windows and ripping the planking from many buildings. Recounts received a direct hit, leaving the school buildings useless. The Curaçao government went into immediate action, locating a temporary replacement location for the school, subsidising a special school bus for the students, and promising to build a new school campus right away. In 2012, 4 years later, the old school was still broken and empty, used only as a drop-off point for families whose children needed bus service to get to the far too distant temporary replacement school. Many of the parents fed up with getting their kids out of bed at 5 a.m. so they can drive them to the old school where they wait for a government-subsidised bus to take them to school, almost gave up. "We're done," they said. "We're not going to do this anymore. Either you build a school nearer to our homes or our kids go to public school. We'd rather not do that, but we're giving up." Then the government added the chorus of doom. Effective January 1st, 2013, there will be no more government-subsidised bus service for rude Nordenhall school children. Angry parents, plus exhausted kids, and a disinterested government equaled a school emergency. The Curaçao Seventh-day Adventist Church leaders called the president of the Inter-American Division and asked for help, immediate help. "We need a temporary school," they said, "to replace our temporary replacement school, or there will no longer be a Seventh-day Adventist school in Curaçao." The president of the Inter-American Division called the president of Maranatha Volunteers International and asked for an emergency temporary replacement one-day school campus for Curaçao. "We know it would be a miracle if this can happen, but we believe God still does miracles," said both presidents. Miracles in Curaçao? Yes, you can trust God. Here is a partial list of the miracles that God granted to the Seventh-day Adventist community in Curaçao. The government leaders gave rude Nordenhall enough land for a brand new school campus. The land was in a central place, making it much easier for parents to bring their children to school. Maranatha had enough fabricated steel for 12 one-day school classrooms available. It was a miracle that a volunteer offered to cover most of the cost for the new school campus buildings. The steel company was able to get the classrooms in a shipping container and deliver the container to the dock. It was a miracle that Maranatha was able to get the container shipped to Curaçao just in time for the volunteers to build the school. The government gave the school a building permit. Building permits take time, and securing a building permit for a 12-building school campus in Curaçao would usually take a lot of time, especially when the building department and the Curaçao Ministry of Education had never heard of a one-day school. God sent Maranatha the right volunteers at the right time. Remember, the rude Nordenhall request was an emergency. It is not easy to get volunteers to volunteer right now. Volunteers need to plan around their work, around finances, family responsibilities, and even weather. When Maranatha sent out the urgent request for volunteers, the common response was, "Curaçao? Where's that?" Then, often without waiting for more information, more than 50 volunteers listened to God's call and said, "I'll go." All the volunteers arrived in time for the project. The volunteer list included exactly the right skills. Ideal housing was available. The weather cooperated, and the fire department and building inspectors made it possible for the school to be completed in time for January classes. Miracles? Yes, God still comes through for His kids. When the new school term began in January of 2013, parents drove their children directly to the new Rude Nordenhall Seventh-day Adventist Primary School in Curaçao, where once again there was a waiting list for any desks that became empty. That is the greatest miracle. A reflection associated with this story comes from Christ's Object Lessons, page 25. Too often, the minds of students are occupied with men's theories and speculations, falsely called science and philosophy. They need to be brought into close contact with nature. Let them learn that creation and Christianity have one God. Let them be taught to see the harmony of the natural with the spiritual. Let everything which their eyes see or their hands handle be made a lesson in character building. Thus the mental powers will be strengthened, the character developed, the whole life ennobled. Miracles in Curaçao was written by Dick Duerksen, assistant to the president of Maranatha Volunteers International. Maranatha Volunteers International is a non-profit Christian organisation based in Sacramento, California. You can visit maranatha.org for more information.
You've been listening to the book reading program by 3ABN Australia Radio, featuring Get Ready for a Miracle. For more information about this book, visit remnantpublications.com.